A very good morning, children. Today we will study synthesis of sentences, a very interesting exercise in grammar. In synthesis of sentences, we are given two or more sentences and we combine them and form one new sentence without changing the meaning. The question in the language paper says, join the following sentences to make one complete sentence without using and, but, or so. And it carries 4 marks in the paper. Because we are not allowed to use and, but, or so, we go for other options such as cumulative conjunctions, adversitive conjunctions, alternative or disjunctive conjunctions, conditional conjunctions. We may begin a sentence with a participle or use an infinitive to combine two sentences. Here are the examples. Cumulative conjunctions such as well as, in addition to, besides, apart from, etc. In cumulative conjunctions, we use cumulative conjunctions in sentences where we add one sentence to another. They are two very simple sentences. There is no contrast between the sentences. There is no choice. There is no condition. We simply add the two sentences. So we use as well as, in addition to, besides, and apart from. Next is adversitive conjunctions. The examples are although, though, even though, whereas, while, in spite of, and despite. Adversitive conjunctions such as although, though, even though, whereas, while, in spite of, and despite are used where there's a contrast between two statements. For example, although it was raining, we went out to play. Next we have alternative or disjunctive conjunctions. Example, either or, neither nor. These are used to indicate a choice between the alternatives. Either or in case of an affirmative sentence and neither nor in case of a negative sentence. For example, either the father or the mother has to attend the meeting. So there's a choice. Next we have the conditional conjunctions: if, provided, only if, as long as, before, unless. Example, if you work hard, you will succeed. If you work hard, you will pass the examination. Or, unless you tell the truth, I will not help you. So these are just a few examples. Then, beginning the sentence with a participle, thinking about the encounter, and the rest of the sentence, walking on the road, she saw, or something like that. Then, having finished his work, he went out to play. And using an infinitive, for example, he worked hard, he wanted to pass the examination. He worked hard to pass the examination. Now let us look at a few examples. We'll solve it together. We'll begin with the first category, that is cumulative conjunctions, where we simply add the two sentences using these options. So the question is, Antonio was kind, Antonio was generous. First of all, very calmly understand the meaning of the sentences given. No contrast, no condition, no choice. Hence, we simply add them, and the options are: first, Antonio was kind as well as generous, full stop, no comma, or let's do it using besides. Besides being kind, comma, Antonio was generous. We can also join them using in addition to. In addition to being kind, comma, Antonio was generous. Do not write also. Besides being kind, Antonio was also generous. No, it will be marked wrong. And then apart from being kind, Antonio was generous. So here, as you can see, my sentences begin with these. You may also use these in the middle, but in that case, there won't be a comma. One thing that you need to remember here is do not use not only but also in synthesis, as the instruction clearly says without using and, but, or so. Some of you use not only but also in synthesis of sentences. Not only was Antonio kind but also generous. You cannot use it at all. Let us do the conditionals now. Example, if the question is Antonio should repay the loan, otherwise Shylock will cut a pound of flesh. Now, because it is a conditional sentence, we can use if, unless, provided, only if, etc. Let us understand what conditional conjunctions are, what conditional sentences are. When you say that something will happen provided something else happens, a particular thing will happen, a particular thing will happen if something else happens. There's a condition attached. So here the sentence says, Antonio should repay the loan. Antonio should repay the loan, otherwise Shylock will cut a pound of flesh. If Antonio does not repay the loan, what will happen? Shylock will cut a pound of flesh. Your answer will be if Antonio does not repay the loan, what will happen? Comma, if Antonio does not repay the loan, this is the first clause. If introduces a condition and the second clause is the result of that. So if Antonio does not repay the loan, what will be the result? What will happen? Shylock will cut a pound of flesh. Here the sentence begins with if. You may also use it in the middle, and in that case your answer will be Shylock will cut a pound of flesh if Antonio does not repay the loan. So if clause is the condition, if Antonio does not repay the loan. Here when you're using if in the middle, you need not put a comma. If you put a comma, the answer will of course be wrong. So only if you're beginning the sentence with if or unless will you put a comma in between. The same sentence can be combined using unless. Unless Antonio repays the loan, comma, Shylock will cut a pound of flesh. Again, something really important that you have to remember, do not use not with unless. Do not use not with unless, otherwise your answer will be wrong. Unless already means if not. So there is no need for you to write not over here, and if you write, unless Antonio does not repay the loan, the answer will be wrong. So no need to write not with unless. Simply unless Antonio repays the loan, comma, Shylock will cut a pound of flesh. So both if and unless clauses, these will talk about the condition, something that will happen first. First, Antonio will not repay the loan. First, he will fail to repay the loan, and then Shylock will cut a pound of flesh. Let us use provided. Provided means on the condition. So your answer will be Shylock will not cut a pound of flesh. This will not happen provided. What is the condition? Provided Antonio repays the loan. With provided, you do not use that. Do not write provided that. This will be absolutely wrong. Let us try one more option. As long as, and the answer will be as long as Antonio repays the loan, Shylock will not cut a pound of flesh. Next, we'll discuss the subordinating conjunctions because, since, and as. Using the conjunctions, these conjunctions because, since, as, we connect the result of something with its reason. Because of something, this happened. So you give the reason and then you give the result. He stood first because he had worked hard. What is the result? He stood first. And what is the reason? He had worked hard. So he stood first because he had worked hard. He stood first since he had worked hard, and since he had worked hard, he stood first. So these are used to join such sentences where we give a reason and the result. For example, if the question is, television is harmful, children must not watch it. If you look at the sentence, we have given the reason and the result. The result is, the reason is that television is harmful, and therefore what should be done? Children must not watch it. So let us try joining these two sentences with these options. These can be used interchangeably. We begin with the first one, that is because. Children, avoid beginning a sentence with because. Use it in the middle. Your answer will be children must not watch television because, the subordinating clause, because it is harmful. You are joining it with this conjunction, joining the two sentences with this. There is no need for you to put a comma to separate it. Or if you replace it with since, children must not watch television since it is harmful. So these are the three options. Here I have used these conjunctions in the middle of the sentence. If you have to begin with these, you will put a comma in between, in the middle, that is separating the two clauses, and these will give you the reason. These will introduce the reason, since and as. Another option is to use for, but again you do not begin with for, use it in the middle, and your answer will be children must not watch television for it is harmful. I hope you've understood these three categories. So now there's an exercise for you. Please solve it. This is your classwork. Portia was rich. Portia was beautiful. Bassanio can win Portia. He should choose the right casket. Now identify the category, identify the option that you have to use. And for that, it is very important to understand the meaning of the sentence. Bassanio can win Portia, but there is a condition. He should choose the right casket. The old man was tired. He could not walk. Again, a reason. Parents install television. It keeps children busy. Reason. Why do parents install television? There's a reason behind that. I was late. The teacher marked me absent again. Why did the teacher mark me absent? I was alone. I was scared. Why was I scared? Reason. I was alone in the house. The old man was wearing dusty clothes. He was wearing steel-rimmed spectacles. Here, no contrast, no reason, no condition, just two sentences describing the old man, what he was wearing. First, dusty clothes. Second, steel-rimmed spectacles. So you simply have to join these two. You must submit your work on time. Otherwise, your teacher will scold you. Again, a conditional sentence. What will happen if you don't fulfill this? If you do not submit your work on time, what's going to happen? I hope you understood. Thank you.